Thank you, Richard. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to y'all. It's an honor. I can't say enough good things about the service clubs. They play such an important part in our community. The values, the good works you do help build a good community. So thank you for someone who's responsible to try to make things work in the city. Knowing that you're out there is real important. And I'm thrilled that you're here. Brogues is a great restaurant. We have a lot of great businesses in Lake Worth. There's a lot of cool things happening and wonderful things. As Richard said, I've been here a year. Not that I'm counting the days. And I came over, I worked in Lantana for 12 years prior. So unlike a lot of the people who applied for this job, I really knew what I was getting into. And knew a lot of the people. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm just as excited, if not more, after spending a year. Today I guess you can call my rambling talk, sort of a good news, bad news, good news. So I don't want anybody to get depressed in the middle. If you look at some of the things that are happening in the city, you know, how many of y'all been down to the new casino and the beach project? With the exception of a few glitches in the parking, most everybody are very excited. They speak very highly of the project. It's a big success for the city. It's something that we've talked about for years, and we've actually pulled it off. We're still working through some details, but all in all, if you've been over there, it's really impressive, and people around the county are talking about it. We have people actually coming from foreign countries to do events in the ballroom. We had a wedding. That was amazing from overseas because they had seen this place. So our reputation is growing there. It's been a major project. Our golf course, if you haven't played on our golf course in a while, we've gone through some changes there. We actually invested in new greens. If you played before, the greens are pretty slow and old. We've got new ones, and I encourage you to go out and try out our golf course. Where else can you play on the Intercoastal with such a beautiful view? I mean, just an incredible amenity. Our parks, there's some things happening right around there with the Snook Islands that we're partnering with the county, new boat ramps, and we're even talking about maybe some day docks there in the future. If you come through the whole city, you can see we have quite a bit of a nightlife and a vibe here with the Cultural Council, which if you don't know about them, they located in the old theater across from Starbucks in that area. And that's the county-wide group that really coordinates some big money efforts involving culture, some big name donors. And they're here in Lake Worth. And we like to tout ourselves as being the center cultural capital of the county. And we're really turning that into something. As a matter of fact, we talk about the arts being one of our industry clusters that we're building around. And we're very proud of that. So all in all, we're really doing some wonderful things in the city. We had some great news the other day that our property values may actually be going up. We heard from the property appraiser after several years of them going down to where they were half of what they were at the height. We may be going up 4.2%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but we'll take it. So some positive things. We have a good dynamic group of leaders in the city. I've been very fortunate with this commission, all of them, the mayor and the commissioners. They're very interested in looking at the city with a good eye and trying to figure out what it is we need to do and how to take that action. And they're not afraid to delve into some tough issues. Last night was our commission meeting. I'll give you an example. We had gotten the commission meetings down to where we were getting out by 8:30, and we were doing probably 2 to 3 times the work that was previously done when they would go to 2 in the morning. One meeting we were revamping code enforcement laws, and we ended up passing 12 ordinances in one night. That's just unheard of. The commission's well prepared. They're asking new questions. There's debate, and then they vote, and then we go forward and implement. Last night was kind of difficult. We got out, I think, about a little bit before 12, but we did some really tough issues we dealt with that had been standing around a long time. So they're being very productive. So when you look at what's happening in the city, you can see that there's some really incredible movement and things are going forward. But it would be disingenuous for me to come up here and say everything's wonderful in this city, because the fact is, the indicators show it's still very unhealthy. And we need to be honest about that, and we're trying our best to get the message out there that don't be confused. We're sending mixed signals. Because we have a beachfront success, we can't take our eye off of the true problems. Let me give you a couple of examples. I told you our property values had dropped in half. We're a 7 square mile city next to Palm Beach. That's $10. We do that in the commission meetings. Scott Maxwell seems to pay the most. For a city that's located where we are, with the tremendous amenities we have, our property taxes generate $5.3 million is all. That tells you how tremendously undervalued the city is. Our schools are not performing like they should. We have a lot of kids, 68 to 92% of the different schools, the populations are on reduced or free lunches. Our high school, the SAT average in 2011 was 791. You can't get into college with that. And that's an average school. I'm sure there's always examples of somebody doing well. When it comes to poverty rates, this city is just ahead of Belle Glade, but behind Riviera Beach. We're 3 times the national average in poverty rates. So there's some fundamental things in this city that are broken, that haven't been addressed. And our job is to this last year is to really take an assessment of what we see in this city, both in the city government organization and the city at large when we talk about Lake Worth. Be honest about our condition. Don't want any delusional behaviors, and then how do we go forward? And that's what's been really a big enjoyable part of my being here, has been working with the community and with the elected officials to stop talking about symptoms and talking about what the problems are. You can't waste your time constantly trying to patch this over here and say you're done when you haven't solved the underlying fundamental problems. So what are those underlying fundamental problems? Well, there's an assumption that the city can fix the city. I can tell you, I cannot hire enough staff. I do not have enough staff now because of the cuts that have had to occur. I can't write enough laws, and I can't come up with enough programs to save this city. And if you expect that, or any citizen expects that, they're barking up the wrong tree. They're talking about symptoms. What can fix this city is private sector investment. It's families moving here, it's people building homes, it's businesses, and it's jobs. And what's really cool is, because we do have such a tremendous city with great amenities, and because we are so highly undervalued in land, if we remove the disincentives to that investment, the investment will flow in. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I say the disincentives. What's holding back people from moving here? Some of y'all live in Atlanta, so you might have moved, and you might never consider living in Lake Worth. Think about what those disincentives are. Well, one of the biggest ones we've had to grapple with is electric rates. I've heard so many times over the years I've lived here, I'm not moving in there. Their utility rates are crazy.
That's true.
And it's really crazy on the commercial end, the difference between our surrounding market. I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm out trying to recruit some industry to bring jobs here, and they say, well, if I'm out here, I'm in FP&L, my rates are cheaper, but if I move into your city, what are you going to do for me because our rates are going to be through the roof? That's a major disincentive. It happens on the family level. People won't lease properties because they'll ask that question. Got to remove that disincentive. We are actively working in a couple of areas with the electric utility. It's our commitment, and there's going to be an ordinance passed by this city commission that says within 5 years, no more than 5 years, we will go to rate parity with the surrounding market. How we get there, that's my job to figure that out. And that's going to be a balancing act between weaning the general fund, which gets subsidized off of the electric rates, and creating more efficient operations to get those rates down. And we're going to try our best, but they're going to put it in the ordinance. I'm going to have to do it. We also are doing a 5-year plan to look at a couple of things. We need to compare and be honest, not be afraid of these issues. What would a long-range contract for services to supply us for electricity would be? What would it be if we built a new power plant to go with the ownership we have in St. Lucie Nuclear and Stanton, where we get our electricity from, so we have a new power plant, and value the system so that we can put it out on the market and see if anybody will buy it from us. That's the first time I believe we've gotten to the point where we're honestly and openly going through that process. And you know what? Our goal as staff, and my goal as the city manager, is to give the commissioners and the owners, the citizens of this city, the best options. So if we sell, I'm going to make sure we've got an asset that draws the highest price possible in the deal. so that we walk away with the best run electric utility owned by a municipality in the state of Florida, and it's not going to be a disincentive. So we're looking at that in a really holistic 5-year plan, and you're going to see more of that in the paper. Huge disincentive to investment. Second disincentive that we're really going after is the land development regulations. We were just talking, Richard and I, in the back about, for years, it's been kind of a wild, wild west. You don't know what you can do in the city, and you're subject to the whims of staff or the whims of political change. Markets hate uncertainty. It's just a fact. We're finally going to have a set of land development regulations, hopefully after 8 years of trying this summer. And of course they'll need to be tweaked and things will need to happen. But for the most part, we have a set of rules going forward that will encourage and allow consistency and reasonable development in the city, so that when you buy property and you go to do something with it, you've taken that uncertainty out of it. It's also intended and designed to keep our lake-worthiness, I'll call it, character, okay? And everybody's got different ideas on what that is, but this is the best we can do. So we're gonna move forward with that. So reduce the rates, have consistent and good rules for development. The third thing is we don't have a culture, we're not known for being customer-oriented. And everybody probably has a story, both good and bad, of dealing with the city of Lake Worth.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. I don't disagree with you at all. Matter of fact, some of the staff members who are in the problem areas don't disagree. We have not made it a priority. We have not devoted the training. We have not implemented the tools in a lot of cases. And there's always the bad apple we haven't gotten rid of. All that's on the table, and we're working through those processes so that as we go forward, we should have the best reputation in the whole county of being a place to go and deal. I had a great experience. I opened an electric account, and I walked away happy. There's no reason, except it hasn't been the priority it should be. We run the corporation. This is a corporation. This is all this is. I'm the president of the corporation, and the mayor and the commissioners are the board of directors, and all the citizens are the shareholders. And if you look at it that way, it behooves us to make sure that we're doing the best job possible for our shareholders. The last thing is a sense of stability. Huge disincentive in the city of Lake Worth. I'm not going there. They're crazy. I'm getting out of here because they're crazy. Both in the city government and in the politics at large. In the city government, we've done a lot to try to stabilize. I'm the 5th city manager in what, 6 years? Mm-hmm. I'm not the greatest, but I'm the latest. Yeah. You can't take a $156 million corporation and constantly tug on it and pull it apart like a political bone. You wouldn't do that with your own business. You shouldn't do it with your city. So we're creating that stability by providing good, sound leadership to the whole organization. We're being honest with employees. We're talking about, again, budget shortfalls, which means we've got to look at pension benefits. And you know what? We're being upfront. We're asking their opinions. We're making them stakeholders in the success of this city. But in turn, we're getting that buy-in and stability. There hasn't always been that ownership among the employees and among the policy boards. Out in the community, we're really trying to encourage everybody to say, you know what, we've got to stop fighting on the extremes. You know, I want to go back to being a third world country with chickens running through the street, or I want to tear down all the buildings and build Fort Lauderdale. I don't know any reasonable person on either one of those ends. But in the great center lies most of us, and what, you know, joins us is much greater than what separates us. And getting the people to realize that in the way we debate, the way we discuss issues, and the way we approach things in a rational manner, calmly, is what leadership is all about. And I'm starting to see that movement in the community. It's really kind of a wonderful thing, and I want to encourage y'all, you know, to promote that kind of behavior so that, you know, we generate that kind of respect for ourselves, and people will notice that, and that'll help deal with the stability factor. So those 4 were simple, easy to understand, but profound disincentives that we're working on to try to deal with. That was our first year's set of goals. The next year, as I'm coming into and working with the policy board, we really want to work on code enforcement. Code enforcement, while I said we can't save the city through laws and enforcing codes, there's over 2,000 vacant properties in the city. There's over 2,100 abandoned and foreclosed properties. Half of our properties are rentals. Half of our tax base is rentals, actually more rentals. There's a tremendous transient and investment-oriented city here. We have got to figure out a way that if you own property in this city, you live in Wellington or Atlantis or anywhere else, you're going to manage your property to a minimal standard. You are not going to disrespect this city by allowing conditions to exist in your rental property, and you're going to take that cash out of the city and put it in your pocket and not reinvest it because it's Lake Worth. We're not going to tolerate that anymore. So we're going to get the word out. We're going to be readjusting code enforcement. We're going to be doing some changes to our policies for opening utility accounts. We're going to be attacking this from different angles. We've got code enforcement and the sheriff's office for the first time really working together closely for chronic nuisance properties. And we want to drive the crime and the bad elements out. And we want to recognize our DNA as that cool, funky city with these smaller homes and lots, and figure out a way to get those families to move in here and buy it for $150,000, $200,000. It's possible. Other communities are doing this, and they don't have the amenities that we have. We've got so much, we just haven't figured out how to put it together. So code enforcement is going to be a big focus on absentee landlords. The other thing is, we had to be really honest about the conditions of the city. One of the fundamental basics that a city is responsible to do is to take care of its infrastructure. This city has not taken care of its infrastructure, and I can't tell you why. I think sometimes we've gotten distracted by shiny objects or something out there that, you know, seems to be, we're going to turn the economy around by building a kayak launch. That's a great idea and it's important, but it's not your lead effort. If you drive through this city, you'll see what I'm talking about. We did a study and committed to hiring a firm that drove every stitch of road in this city. I think it's 116 miles. And they had this van that, you know, radar and all kinds of things, and it photographed it, and it gave us a pavement condition index rating for that street. So 100 is a new road, perfect drainage, it's got everything done. 0 is a lot of the roads that don't exist in District 1, where you do have the chickens running around. And there's no drainage, it's all dirt and sand. 55 is where you have to tear up a road because the road base is damaged. Above 55, you can mill the surface and repair it. There's a lot of roads there, they've been paved over so many times, there's no gutters. There's sidewalks are broken, there's no sidewalks around schools. But we said, you know what? That's good to have that information to do a roadway and sidewalk program, but why don't we push the water program that we have, because the water lines need to be replaced, and why don't we push the drainage master plan that we have in there, anything dealing with other items, you know, could be electric, and do a master plan so we tear the right-of-way up one time. It's the most efficient use of money from the various pots of money that we have. So we came up with the roadway and utility master plan. You might have heard about it in the paper. $63 million total. Of that, about $29 million is associated with the streets and the sidewalks. It turned into a life safety issue. Did you know that many parts of the town, in these areas where there's no roads, don't even have fire hydrants? They don't have the water lines for pressure and volume to do a fire hydrant. If you want to add value to somebody's investment, and some of these people that live on these lots, this is the biggest investment of their lifetime, their home. You fix the infrastructure. That vacant lot next to them that's run down will never sell if it's on a dirt road with no fire hydrants. No investor is going to buy that. But they will if you build the infrastructure, if you clean up the streets and you do it right. So we're looking right now at pushing forward the whole concept of let's get back to the meat and potatoes of what the city should be doing. Let's build a strong foundation and set of core issues that as the economy improves, we start to come out healthy so that we don't get in this position again 20 years from now. We've made the investments where we should be, and we're saying, well, you know, we should be funding these programs and things at the expense of these core values. And that's what this commission is considering. So I'm really excited. These are huge issues for this city, and it's going to take a lot of pain and effort. It's kind of like taking medicine. You don't want to do it, but it's the only way you're going to get well. You've got to stop treating the symptoms of the problems and go back to the core. And so I don't have any, you know, quick fix promises in this city. And I didn't think you'd expect me to stand up and say everything's rosy and let's have a group hug and we'll go home. The fact is, we've got some successes out there. Don't be fooled by them. About these issues. You know, there's always room for improvement. But I expect everybody to take part and to take some ownership of this. And you know, over the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see some dramatic things happening in this city. I'm already getting people coming in every week. I hear things are happening in Lake Worth. What's going on? I got this idea to do this. There's development interest. Wes will tell you. There's things out there. We want to make sure it's good development for the city. No, we just don't want anything. But we need to start to recognize government's not going to be able to save the city. It's going to be private sector investment, and we need to be able to provide the context for that to happen. And that's what we're all about over the next 3 to 5 years in the efforts. There's a lot of opportunity to get involved. You know, I appreciate what y'all do as a club. If y'all have properties and interest in the city, you know, the coffee pot's always on at City Hall. I'm usually there. And I wear a bow tie so people don't beat me up if I tell them what they don't want to hear. So far it's worked. Well, Herman beat me up once, but. So with that, I just want to give you that understanding of where we're going. It's a difficult task. If you got any questions, I'd love to hear them. Look at that, no questions.
What is your background as far as training? And
my background, well, after the statute of limitations ran out, I came back. No, I'm teasing. I have a political science degree from the Florida State University with the intent of being a lawyer originally. I saved myself and didn't pursue the law degree. I moved down here and worked in a congressional race for a guy named Ken Adams, who was the chairman of the county commission when he ran for Congress. And that was in the late 80s. And that's when I moved here and sort of got involved. Worked for the county commission, went off in private sector, fascinated by business and that whole scene. I had been called back after I had some failed business. I worked with a company that made the first polycarbonate hurricane panels. I don't know if you remember that, after Andrew. It's Clear Shield.
Yeah.
That was some buddies of mine. I was going to be a millionaire. I still got the stock if you want some.
I got some of your shields.
Well, sons of bitches that I was working for were more interested in taking the money from the company and investing in stocks and lost it all. And I was interested in running a company. But I ended up going back to the county, was one of their first in-house legislative coordinators. And then Ron Ferris, who worked down in Lantana, I'd met him years before. He started having all this development interest coming into Lantana, and he didn't have anybody to deal with these people and to run their code building department. So he called me out of the blue and said, I need some help. I went down there and started working in Lantana, and heck, they fired him and hired me, and I was there ever since. And while I really, really have an affinity towards private sector and business, I love public service. You can work in this industry and get the same kinds of business experiences, and you can't make money. You make a living, and I've enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed that stability. So I'm in between that world of maybe going back into private sector one day or not, but that's my background. I have that mindset for that. That helps.
You know, when you say code enforcement, right away a red light comes up on the lot. Bingo. You know, some of the stuff is screwy.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, just practical sense stuff would solve probably a lot of that problem.
Well,
you talk to a builder, and he doesn't want to build in Lake Worth.
Well, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And when you say common sense, that's an easy answer. The fact is, our codes have been inconsistent. You can't give anybody inconsistent tools or outdated tools or processes that are broken. Our special magistrate process was getting drug out and long. We've been through 3 special magistrates. We got a special magistrate now that's a hanging judge. I guess I can say that on the. She's more inclined to be enforceful with her rulings so that repeat offenders get the idea. So there's several components in code enforcement. Code enforcement can sit and write cases all day long, but if we don't have the legal ability to go and fund foreclosures or putting liens, or if the cases aren't legally correct because our laws are bad, they don't go anywhere. And at the end of the day, you really can't make somebody clean up a property. And it doesn't mean that it's going to get better.
I wouldn't talk about cleaning up. I understand
Yeah.
that. I'm just talking about when they walk into your warehouse or whatever, and.
Are you talking about building department?
Yeah.
Building inspections.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's a different thing.
That's another thing.
Code enforcement is more like rental properties that don't cut the grass.
Trash. Yeah.
When you come in for your business license, or if you're building on and you have the inspections, we've had a problem trying to get an in-house building official. We haven't had one We had one for a short stint. We hired a guy that was really going gangbusters, and Palatka hired him away, and he gave us not even 2 weeks' notice and left. Our reputation, I guess. We should be having an in-house building official here in the next couple of months. We are contracting out with a local firm. But again, you know, having that consistency in training and the right amount of staff, because we want to have a reputation of working with people.
Yeah.
But same token, we don't want to be a pushover. There's builders out there that aren't all reputable. They don't all, they cut corners.
Right.
And they'll blame the building department because somebody didn't submit the plans. Oh, those plans have been on the desk waiting for, well, we just got them this morning. You know, that kind of stuff happens. But we need to be better, no doubt. Anything else? Thank you.
We'd like to thank you for coming. You're always welcome to come.
Don't tell me that, I'll be here again.
Food's good, right?
Once a week. We have a plaque appreciation. If you have an office.
They can give me an office.
Okay. Well, you'll be able to put this up in your office, and it has the Rotary seal on it, which is the seal of approval
There you go.
on it.
I appreciate that.
We appreciate it. And really, you are welcome to come back and tell us what's happening anytime. I know one of the problems that you face is, like all the cities around the United States, is a two-class system. People that have, that own homes and businesses, and then you have a lot of immigrants who come in, and it changes the system, so it becomes a sort of a problem.
Well, we got a little bit of everything in Lake Worth, I'll tell you that.
Yes, yeah.
But it's a great place, I love it.
We're trying to do our part. John was influential in helping build a little Rotary Park on.
We appreciate that.
Fifth Avenue and
It's a
F.
great facility.
What street?
F and Fifth.
F Street. Yeah.
I was just up
So,
there the other day.